Hello, this is John from caveofprogramming.com, and in this tutorial we're going to look at dynamically populating lists. In the last tutorial we created a list like this, and this is statically populated from strings that exist here. There's like a string array here in this strings.xml, and the values are kind of hard coded into the list here. But often what you want to do with a list is you want to populate it with the results of some kind of query or something. And I'm sure we'll touch on that again later, but we'll take the first important step there by populating this list with using like programmatically instead of using hard-coded values. So I'm going to go into my layout here. So let's go to activity main.xml, and I'm going to get rid of this Android entries option here. So let's get rid of this, and I still want to use those entries actually, so I'm going to just retrieve that array of strings as an actual Java array here in my set list listener code. So to do that, I'm going to say here string array, and let's call this string array values, and I'm going to use a method of activity called get resources. And get resources allows you to having code completion problems here, but get resources allows you to get resources like string values, for example. And I'm going to use a method that actually returns a resources object, I think it is. If I hover the mouse over here, it returns resources object. And I'm going to just use method chaining here rather than declaring a separate resources object. And I'm going to say get string array. And to get string array, I just pass the value from r.java. So r.array.list options is the name that I gave to the array in strings.xml, and that will get me a literal array of strings. Now to transform that array of strings from an array to a bunch of list items, I can use a class called array adapter. So I'm going to declare an array adapter, and I'm going to say that I'm going to pass it strings here, and let's add the import there with Ctrl-Shift-O, and I'm going to call this adapter, and I'll set that equal to a new array adapter, and I need to pass some values to the constructor here, and the first value I'm going to pass is going to be the context. Context is an interface that activities implement, and so I'm just going to pass this here to pass in the activity. And let's just look at the constructors for a minute here. And I want to use this 3-argument form of the constructor for reasons that we'll see in a minute. And for the second argument here, I'm going to pass the value android.r.layout.simple list item 1, which we'll come back to in a second. And the final value is the array of values that I want to use in my list. And I'll just it's called values, not value. There we go. So that's all working. And then we'll return to this in just a second, but what I'm going to do now is, once I've got my list, I'm going to say list.setAdapter. Set adapter, and I'm going to pass it this adapter that I've just created. And so I haven't got the hard-coded values here anymore, but they are. I am now getting them from the XML and setting them on the list. And just to kind of prove the point, just for a moment here, let's change the first value. So I'll change it from Bob to let's have the first value here, index 0. I'll change this from Bob to Zeus, and let's run this, and I'll check that it's working. Let's have a look at the console. Yeah, it is installing it in the emulator. Now, so context is pretty straightforward here, and the values is pretty straightforward. And by the way, the great thing is that if you look at the different constructors that array adapters got, you'll see that you can also supply an array list here. So it doesn't have to be an array. I'm just using an array here because this is convenient, but this will take list values. So if you query something on a mobile phone and you get it back into an array list or a linked list or something, you can supply the values here. And now this value here, this is actually a predefined layout in Android. It's an XML layout. And you'll notice that I'm not using r.layout because that would refer to my own r.java file, and I don't want to do that. I'm using a predefined constant here from android.r.layout, and this simple list item is a XML layout that just lays out kind of one text item in your list. So so that will do for here, and if we look at it now, it looks exactly the same as before, except that my values here are dynamically populated, and of course I can change them. And as I say, I could use an array list that I've created myself here instead of this array. So that's it for this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we're going to look at how you can actually create your own array adapter, and you can put all kinds of fancy things as items into your list, and you can lay out your list items however you want and use icons and things like that. So we'll look at that in the next tutorial, and that's it for this time, and until next time, happy coding.